Hey, what's going on? Welcome to part 2 of Australian Metal Gems. So if you didn't see my previous video, I talked about some underground Australian metal releases in response to a viewer's request to hear about those particular releases in my collection. I do have a few to talk about, so the next lot are going to appear in this video. If you'd like more information about the background and inspiration, you can watch that previous video where I talk about 5 or 6 releases, I think. And this particular installment, it's just a continuation of the same thing. So we'll get started. Just before I do, what we're listening to may seem like a strange choice because this chapter is about Australian metal. What we're listening to is HECATE Enthroned with The Slaughter of Innocence, a Requiem for the Mighty. So of course, HECATE Enthroned are a UK black metal band. But the reason I decided to choose that as the background music is that I was reminded of them this week when I heard the sad news yesterday that one of their original guitarists, Mark, he passed away. So it was saddening news, and it just reminded me of the brilliance of this band's music. So I thought, as kind of a tribute, I'm going to play this album today. HECATE Enthroned are a great symphonic black metal band from the UK. In the beginning, they were sort of accused of being Cradle of Filth ripoffs. I think they had some former members, and you can hear the similarities in a lot of their early stuff, but the difference is, I think Cradle of Filth went in more of a sort of gothic, romantic, vampiric direction, whereas this band was more into making more sort of haunting, symphonic black metal, but it has a very British sound, and it's just brilliant. Like the first 3 albums, which include this one, also Upon Promethean Shores, and Dark Requiems are just legendary, and also the later stuff where they start to cross over with death metal is really good. So if you haven't checked them out, definitely do so. So that's HECATE Enthroned with The Slaughter of Innocence, a Requiem for the Mighty. Alright, so today I have a fair few more CDs to talk about, so I'm not going to waste your time. I'm really going to try not to ramble and just get straight into it. Any CDs I've spoken about in previous videos, I'm not going to go into as much detail, which makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so the first CD I'm going to talk about, I've done these in alphabetical order, as you probably will have noticed in the previous video. I actually left one out, but I'm just going to start with that today. So the first CD I'm going to talk about is Anatomy with The Witches of Dathomir. So Anatomy are a band from Victoria, Australia. I think Melbourne actually, yeah. So Melbourne is their city of origin, and what you have with this band is it's kind of like a crossover between death and black metal. So it's sort of got the harshness of black metal, the harshness and the coldness of black metal, mixed with the energy and explosiveness of death metal. So it's very energetic, very shredding, extreme, and over the top, but it's just like a cacophony whirlwind of chaos. This band is just amazing. The first album was called Where Angels Die. That was more of a sort of purist death metal album, but this one's sort of starting to really cross over with black metal, especially in terms of the vocals, the harshness and the raspiness and everything. But like, it's just I think it's unique, honestly. Like, really good. But just show you the disc here. Some of you have seen this before, so it's just a little recap. You just have this booklet here with the lyrics and live band photo. So yeah, they truly are unique because I can't really compare them to any other band. You've just really got to hear it, but amazing stuff, original, and I really like it a lot. It's one of those albums where it's very extreme, so to listen to the whole thing can be a little bit tough at times, but then again, they also slow down with some atmospheric tracks like what's that song, Far From the World of Blue. Also the introduction, Ambrosia Death, is very atmospheric and tranquil, so they do have those interludes of like a more kind of reflective music, which is great. But as I've mentioned, my absolute favorite track on this album is Just One More Nail. I'll put a sample of that song in. It's just like this amazingly explosive, harsh, shredding song, and it's brilliant, very catchy with the vocal patterns and the guitars, these blistering solos. It's simply incredible. So also they include a cover of The Exorcist by Possessed, so yet another band doing that, but it's interesting to hear their take on it anyway. But I recently heard that this band got together. They had disbanded in like 2001, so they've made a comeback. But yeah, I'll let the sample music do further talking, but if it sounds interesting to you, interesting to you, check them out. So that's Anatomy with the Witches of Dathomir. Okay, up next we have a black metal band, also from Victoria, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this is HELLSPAWN with Lords of Eternity. So, show you the disc here, blurry band photo, and got the inner booklet, so just some lyrics, portrait of the band. Yep. I actually like this layout here of the band. That's pretty cool, in the arched windows and the logo. So how I heard about this band, in the year 2002, Mayhem came to play in Australia for the first time, and I saw their Sydney show. Incredible show, just because I was so excited to see them for the first time. And also the two opening bands were phenomenal. The first one was Abominator, which is this insane Black Death war metal band, also from Victoria. If you haven't heard them, check them out. And I was even a fan at the time, so it was great to see them. And then I'd never heard this band, but HELLSPAWN played, and I just found their music incredibly captivating, because it's really heavy and dark. Like when they perform live, just this, like, it's not a sludgy band, but like just the sort of the sludge and the heaviness of these riffs. I thought, wow, this is really epic stuff. So that's what captured my attention initially. So if you've never heard HELLSPAWN before, this is the only one I know. I tried to look them up on Metal Archives and I couldn't find much information, so maybe this is the only release. But essentially what it is symphonic black metal, which is sort of symphonic bombastic black metal, inspired by those bands like Emperor, definitely Emperor, maybe to an extent Dimmu Borgir, except you know, Emperor's more of an extreme band, I think. So like definitely inspired by that. But what's interesting is, as is the case with a lot of these Australian bands who play this style, there's also a strong death metal influence. So you can hear like the chugging heaviness of the riffs underneath. It's quite thrashy and death-like, some of the riffs there. So, but the keyboards are nearly almost going constantly, so it's that like real juxtaposition between brutality and symphony. So it's really amazing, but unique. Like it's not an Emperor clone band, but you can see how they were influenced by Emperor. But like imagine that with a more brutal edge. So really good. They also have some samples in there, some acoustic guitars, and like just some parts of this album are really just so haunting, and I always like that. You know, like a lot of bands that play this symphonic style, it's all happy and melodic, and yeah, like melodic is okay, but when it sounds too happy, I don't know. But like this band, it sounds really haunting and quite dark, so just fantastic. Literally every track on this is great, but just some of the standout tracks for me are tracks 3, 4, and 5. So Ancient Possession, the title track Lords of Eternity, and also Heirs to the Throne. Also, Baphomet's Disciples is a very good song, so 3, 4, 5, 6. But honestly, no bad tracks on this. So if that sounds appealing to you, check it out. Brutal death metal crossed with symphonic black metal. Sort of like Morbid Angel meets Emperor. Yeah, something like that. But very interesting. So that's HELLSPAWN with Lords of Eternity. up next, we have yet another black metal band. This one may be known to some of you. This is Lord KAOS with Thorns of Impurity. So it's quite funny, when I first read and heard about this, I thought it was Thorns of Impunity, but actually Impurity. You see here, I bought this, still got the label on there from Beat This Parramatta out in the western suburbs, so fitting. So Lord KAOS, I think they're actually from Sydney, were from Sydney, so they don't exist anymore. Sadly, this was the only album they ever released. But yeah, it's a shame because it was such a brilliant one. I'm not sure why this band stopped. I think it was probably lack of label support. Like, I don't think they had a label, didn't get signed, but it's a shame because they were a real talent. I think after this they released one track called Black Earth, which appeared on that compilation I showed you, Under a Southern Cross, but after that they just disappeared. But yeah, shame. But anyway, really good. I'm just going to show you the disc here. Okay, and then it's got quite an elaborate booklet, so you can immediately tell from the artwork it's very Emperor inspired, like think of In the Nightside Eclipse. Again, very Emperor inspired. In fact, a lot of these Australian bands are influenced by that symphonic Norwegian sound, but I guess that's the case with a lot of bands the world over because Emperor was so influential. But anyway, so you've got this pretty cool, detailed, colourful booklet with lyrics which are sometimes readable depending on the colour. I love that picture, that's awesome. And yep, a portrait of the band. And this guy here, you might recognize him. This is none other than Astanu, who played in Dimmu Borgir, of course. So you may not know this, but Astanu of Dimmu Borgir, yeah, he's an Australian. So he played in this band and then flew over to Norway, and he joined them for a couple of albums, I think. Godless Savage Gardens, Spiritual Black Dimensions, one other. But yeah, so he was a one-time member of Dimmu Borgir. Interesting. Okay. Oh, it just keeps going. Yeah. But anyway, this is just an absolutely fantastic, underrated release of black metal. Of course, it's not groundbreaking. It is influenced by Emperor, but you know, like the way Emperor uses the keyboards, which are going constantly. Those keyboards like mimic string instruments and choirs, whereas with this band, it's more just pure keyboards. Like but they're going all the time. So not quite as orchestral, but still very, very like symphonic and atmospheric. Also, you can hear all the guitar riffs clearly and audibly, which are great. The vocals are very raspy, typical black metal vocals, but yeah, just all those classic elements of this style that a lot of us like. And when I've given this a lot of time, like in the last week, I've listened to this CD about 7 times or something. It's incredibly catchy. The songs stick in your head. So be careful if you're listening to this before bed and you can't sleep. This happened to me. You'll hear those keyboard riffs going like over in your head. So I wouldn't say this is keyboard based, but it's keyboard oriented. But anyway, think of symphonic, majestic, forest black metal. Gotta love it. It's brilliant. And 10 tracks here. All are really good. Like honestly, literally every track is great. They've got really grand titles like Golden Wings on Red Streams of Ocean Lightning, like just fantastic. My favorite songs, what were they? I think 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's Dark Tower of Immolation, Under the Darkest Shade, Red Sky of Angels Diving, and In the Icy Realm. But honestly, every track, like this whole album, it just plays from beginning to end. It flows really well, so absolutely brilliant. Some moments again are really haunting and dark, so it's great. Yeah, just a fantastic symphonic black metal release. So that's Lord KAOS with Thorns of Impurity. Definitely check it out. Okay, so moving to a slightly different style now. The next release I'm talking about, this is Mortality with Structure. So Mortality are a band which no longer exist, I think. They came out in the mid-90s, I think around 94. Actually, in 1994, I was only 15 years old, and I saw this band playing at a community hall, like just a local event, and I think that could have been their first show, I'm not sure, but they established quite a lot of fame in the local scene. This album came out in 96, 97, something like that, released on Warhead Records, which was also Lord KAOS, so that was a famous Sydney label. So how to describe the music of Mortality? It's basically technical death thrash, so it's not pure death metal, it's not thrash metal, combination of those. And when I say technical, just like there's a lot of time and rhythm changes, just really interesting shifts in time, and like just quirky mechanical riffs, like not as technical as say Meshuggah. Like Meshuggah, yeah, I don't mind them, but I find them a bit too jazzy for me, but this band is more straightforward than that, definitely. So but just like some amazing razor sharp riffs, precise executions of speed, played perfectly. Like this is technically perfect, and like so many catchy songs. It's full of aggression. The vocals are sort of death metal like. When I say like, it's not as in something guttural like I'm just going to choose a typical like Cannibal Corpse, something like that, or Disgorge. That was the band name I was looking for. It's not like that. It's more sort of who could I compare the vocals to? Maybe a bit like Burton C. Bell of Fear Factory, or like aspects of Phil Anselmo, but it's more. There's not the melodic side of Phil Anselmo, but just that sort of harsh side. But even musically, this band sounds a bit similar to, like, it's got the guitar tone of Pantera, definitely, and like sort of the technical precision and an almost industrial sound of Fear Factory. But don't think it sounds exactly like Demanufacture by Fear Factory, something like that. It's definitely death thrash oriented, but it just takes elements of that band. But really energetic, really catchy. It's riffs galore and so much aggression and passion on this album. I just love it. They also talk about, their lyrical themes are sort of about, as you can probably see from the booklet, like just the progression and simultaneous decay of society, but also some quite personal songs as well, so live shots of the band and the lyrics, just of structure there. And I think this band, the lead vocalist Darren Maloney, he went on to join Cryogenics, so I think maybe the band stopped after that, but I can't be sure. But it was quite funny. I bought this in 97, and I loaned it to a friend, Will. If you're watching, you'll know the story. It was my longest CD loan in history. I loaned it to him in 1998, I think, and I got it back in 2016 when I was visiting Australia. So nice 18-year loan then. But when I got it back, I started listening to it again. It's really good. So I'm happy to have this back. So you'll get more of an insight when I play the sample, but just think of energetic, precise, passionate death thrash, which is quite technical, so it's brilliant. Some of my favorite songs on this: Deform, Slave Drive, Inventory. Yeah, but all are really good. Like, again, you can listen to the whole album. There's maybe a couple I don't like so much, but there is variety on this album, so it always keeps you interested, so check it out. That's Mortality with Structure. Okay, up next, returning to another black metal band. One which is very obscure to me. This is MYRDDRAAL with Blood on the Mountain. So, how did I find out about this band? Randomly. I was in Red Eye Records, that shop I've mentioned in previous videos, a famous alternative metal shop in Sydney, and I just saw this and I thought, oh, it looks interesting. So clearly it had the black metal label, and I thought I'll just take a gamble with it, make it a blind buy. And that was based to an extent on this artwork, which is just awesome. And then I looked on the inside, lyrics are nice and clearly set out. And then just seeing this portrait of the band, I thought, yeah, this looks like my cup of tea. And I was absolutely right. Nice logo as well. Interestingly, this band is from ACT, so Canberra, which is, there are quite a few bands down there, but it's not, yeah, it's not sort of the typical place you would expect a black metal band to come from. But that's the beauty of this music. There's so much passion in all corners of the world. But this, how would I describe this? This is really unique. It's a band, so like very sort of harsh, raw, typical black metal in a lot of ways, with, you know, the guitars and the vocals and everything, but they don't use keyboards. They use a lot of acoustic guitars though, and when I say acoustic guitars, not brief interludes, but some real sort of like large sections of strumming. It sounds maybe a bit psychedelic and dreamy, but like they've got these really harsh, straightforward black metal parts, and then they go into these sort of dreamy, atmospheric parts where you imagine, like, you just picture yourself out in the woods or on the mountain or something with the acoustic guitar, like in the Australian bush. It's very black metal, yet also very Australian, if that makes sense. But yeah, so very, very, very interesting. The vocals also have some chants in there, like it's mostly raspy vocals, but also some chants and some clean sung vocals, which are in that sort of like Viking style fashion, you know, not like perfectly in tune, but it creates a certain mood. And yeah, it's just really good. Like when I revisited this recently, I thought, damn, this is an underrated album. So just like the Lord KAOS one, which I showed you, this is a true Australian black metal gem, if you ask me. So all songs are great. Dumai's Wells is probably my favorite, just because of that. At the end, they've got this sort of chanted vocals and this dreamy atmosphere with the acoustic guitars, which is great. Also Daughter of the Night, that's got some really tranquil, psychedelic acoustic guitar parts, which are great. They also have a track called What Once Was. That must be a tribute to Burzum, because of course the Burzum track entitled Detsom Engang Va, that translates to What Once Was. And then this song here, it's mimicking that Burzum style. It's an instrumental and sort of like mid-pace 4/4 drumming, sort of these yearning, melancholic riffs like Burzum, and then sort of mid-pace 4/4 drumming. So I think that's their sort of indirect tribute to Burzum there. So great track. And then the last track, Blood on the Mountain, the title track, that is just hugely epic. You've got to hear that song. Yeah, like just a very perfect closing track, because it's just got that dark atmosphere, but then they also have some cleanly sung vocals and just this dreamy atmosphere, which is brilliant. And with that song, Blood on the Mountain, the year I bought this, it was like 2002, 2003, and my girlfriend at the time, I was playing it at home, and she does not like this music at all. Like, she likes more like Indian alternative music, but when I played that song, Blood on the Mountain, she goes, what is this? This sounds really interesting. It's really good. And I said, there you go. So that just shows the appeal of this album. So this one is probably hard to find, but if you can get your hands on anything by this band, I'd recommend it, because I just think they're unique. So that's MYRDDRAAL with Blood on the Mountain. getting through this nice and fast. Not that it's a race, but I don't want to ramble on for too long, so it's a change for me. Alright, broken disc. Because this one's ancient. So what do we have next? Shifting gears again. This is Volatile with Quarantine. So interesting that this came out in the late 90s. Highly relevant title now. We're all sick to death of the word quarantine. COVID has changed its significance forever, sadly. But this came out in, I think, 96, something like that. You might have heard of Volatile. They're sort of like a death grind band from Sydney. These days, I'm not sure if they're still around, but as they went on, they became more pure grindcore, like writing very politically incorrect songs, trying to offend people, which I think they did with some of the, you know, the topics and the samples they use. But this album here, this is more sort of old school death metal mixed with a sort of punky edge. So maybe, you know, there's some parts where it's sort of opening up to grindcore, but I think it's, for the most part, it's just like death thrash, old school death metal, but really good. Interesting artwork for this. And I like how they have the lyrics of each song in a different color. If you're offended by graphic artwork, look away, okay? Then you just have this delightful photo here, like it's clearly a mannequin, but yeah. But I think it sort of sums up the lyrical content of this music. Obscure, weird artwork there. But yeah, just very raw, old school, chugging, thrashing death with a sort of punky influence, which is great. I really like it. Actually, when I put this on again the other day, I thought that song, Escape Reality, is just so good. That's the opening track. This is like, it's got this raw death thrash vibe, fantastic. They have some weird samples from movies like Horror Hospital. So like if you're into that sort of macabre death, those macabre death metal topics and death grind, I think you'll probably like this, and elements of punk. Some of the lyrics are quite over the top, like the song Bleed For Me, not to be confused with the Dismember song. Those lyrics are pretty full on. Like obviously they're trying to shock and offend people to the point of laughter where it's so ridiculous, but yeah, that was the charm of those bands back in the day. So interesting release. And a mate of mine gave me this, Greg from Australia. We used to tape trade, and then I saw this on his list and I asked for a copy, and he said, do you know what, you can just have it. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, I know it'll have a good new home. So he gave it to me in the early 2000s. So Greg, if you're watching this, thanks a lot, mate. Still got it, and listen to it once in a while. It's really good. So that's Volatile with Quarantine. Almost done. And now the last CD I'm going to talk about, I've actually referred to on my Hell's Headbangers update video. So I got this one quite recently. This is VOMITOR with Pestilent Death. So VOMITOR are a band also from Victoria, Australia. So you see how the state of Victoria and the city of Melbourne, it's just like the mecca of metal in Australia. Like so many bands come from there, especially with extreme metal, like Destroyer 666 are from there. And I'm like loads of others like Anatomy. This band actually features Marcus Hellcunt, who also played on Anatomy, but was played in that legendary band known as Bestial Warlust. So they've achieved a cult status in the international underground scene. Bestial Warlust, definitely check them out if you haven't. So this particular album, it's very good. It's black thrash metal. As I mentioned in my Hell's Headbangers update video, very much in the vein of Destroyer 666. So if you like Destroyer 666, you will like this band too. My favorite tracks on the album are Roar of War and Pestilent Death. Just got some really chugging riffs on those songs. But yeah, very catchy. Like, once again, it's not innovative, it's not groundbreaking, but that's not the point. It's just playing this style of dirty black thrash really well. Dirty, downtrodden black thrash. So a lot of bands from Australia play this style, and if you like it and you like Destroyer 666, definitely check it out. So that's VOMITOR with Pestilent Death. Alright, so I think I'm getting better at this in terms of time efficiency. So they're all the CDs that I have to talk about today, and that actually concludes all of the Australian metal CDs which I have in my collection. So there are a lot of other bands from Australia which I like, where I only have copies, and some of them I do intend to buy. So I'm just going to tell you about some other bands that I recommend. You've probably heard a lot of these. In terms of old school bands, definitely check out SADISTIK Execution if you haven't. Like, that's just extreme. They always call themselves death metal. A lot of people label them Black Death. But it's just really over the top, ballistic, insane. And a lot of people joke that they're Australia's best cultural export. SADISTIK Execution, cult status around the world. Also BESTIAL WARLUST, which is again black death metal. I guess war metal. So if you like that kind of thing, it's very raw and aggressive. But they had 2 legendary albums which were called Vengeance, War to Death and Blood and Valor. Both classic albums, so definitely check those out. In terms of other old school bands, also Armoured Angel, they play straightforward old school death metal, but like just some of the riffs in their songs and the atmosphere, it's just like truly epic. They write epic songs. And like as an introduction, the song I have on that compilation CD was Swine of the Gadarene Swine, so that's a good start for an Armoured Angel track. Also, sort of a cult band in Australia is Slaughterlord, which is sort of like old school thrash metal, but like very extreme for the time, but they were considered very influential in the Australian metal scene, but also worldwide. So talking about some other bands I like, Gospel of the Horns, that's great black thrash, also from Victoria. So you see how Victoria just pumps those black thrash bands out, but like they're all really good. Very catchy, that band, so definitely check out Gospel of the Horns. Also PSYCROPTIC from Tasmania. PSYCROPTIC have achieved international fame as a result of a couple of their albums. I mean, like, they're getting bigger and bigger. They're hugely popular. They released 2 really groundbreaking, amazing albums called The Isle of Disenchantment and Scepter of the Ancients. Like, that is just crazy, off-the-wall death grind, and the singer employs all these different voices, but like there's so many time changes, but like just atmosphere. Like with death grind, you don't normally think of atmosphere, but with those 2 PSYCROPTIC albums, phenomenal. And like the drumming is like a machine gun, the riffs are technical and crazy. It's just so energetic. Brilliant band. And with their later albums, they just achieved more and more fame. So if you haven't checked out PSYCROPTIC, definitely do so. They're the only bands that come to mind now. Now, I do know there are a lot of new Australian bands coming out that people are raving about, and you should probably check out these bands too. The black metal band which has achieved worldwide fame is Drowning the Light, I think from Kiama, New South Wales. International legend already. Like, he's a very prolific one-man black metal band, and a lot of people on YouTube talk about that band. So if you like very atmospheric black metal, definitely check that out. From what I've heard from that band, it's really good. Also, the death metal band that I hear a lot of people raving about is DISENTOMB. Like, I think Liam on his channel was mentioning that like a lot of these new Aussie death metal bands, they're achieving new heights of heaviness, and I think DISENTOMB is one of those bands as well. But my friend Brett from Australia, he named all these other bands. There's so many. On Nick's channel, Motley Crue Forever, there was a band he talked about, GOATBLOOD, like this, like a black metal band. There's so many new bands coming out, and it's great to see, because I think a lot of the bands from that country, from Australia, they're very talented, but it's hard to break through with international recognition, but it's starting to happen. So they're all the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. But you tell me, let's generate some discussions. What Australian metal bands do you like, and which ones do you recommend? I'm interested to hear. One other one I was going to think of was ALCHEMIST. They're pretty interesting as well because they mix a lot of different styles of metal, but also psychedelic influences and folk music and world music. So occasionally I don't like all of their music. It can be a little bit boring for me sometimes, but overall like a very interesting band, ALCHEMIST as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me, which Australian bands do you recommend? And let me know if you have anything else to say about this topic. So that concludes my Australian metal collection CDs. So I hope you enjoyed the series. Thanks, Ken, for the suggestion of the topic. And please, guys, if you have any other recommendations for topics, let me know, because this one was fun to do, like going according to a particular requested thing. Okay, so that's all I've got for now, but there's plenty more coming, so take care. I'll be back soon with another video, and I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. I have a few ideas, but it'll be a surprise. So in the meantime, take care. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks a lot for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.